Hello everyone, today I'm gonna show you how to set up an Odoo development environment on a Windows machine. We are going to be following Odoo's documentation, specifically the Odoo 17 source installation documentation. So let's go over there. So just write Odoo source install. The first link is gonna be source install Odoo 17 documentation. That's what we are going to follow. As you can see in the beginning, it's saying that Odoo source can be more convenient for module developers, as it is more easily accessible than using package installers. So this is what we need. First thing, it's saying that you require to have Git installed. So if you have installed Git, just follow the link and download it for Windows. I went through the default installation. Please do the same. Then we'll use Git to clone the Odoo's repository. First, I'm gonna click Windows tab. So the tutorial is for Windows users. To clone a repository, it is as simple as git clone and the repository URL. Now there are two repositories over here, one for Odoo community version and one for the enterprise version. Now it is saying here that the enterprise version still requires the Odoo community version. So if you have the enterprise, you still need to download both of these repositories. If you want to use the open source free version, the community version, then just download the first link. I'm going to be going through this tutorial using the first link in a separate video. I'll also show how to add the enterprise version to your community version. So let's clone this repository. I'm gonna go to my desktop and create a new folder, and I'm gonna call it Odoo tutorial. Gonna enter it, gonna right click, show more options, and I have open git bash here. I'm gonna open the git bash terminal. Then I'm going to clone the community version, copy it, right click to paste, enter. The clone is going to take some time, as the community version, I believe it is bigger than 3 GB. Okay, let's check the next steps while this is downloading. The next step is downloading Python. So it's saying that Odoo requires Python 3.10 or later to run. Let's follow this link and download the latest version for Python. And I'm gonna click latest Python 3 release. So I have already installed Python, so I'm not gonna follow through this installation. Just gonna mention one thing is check add Python exit to path. Okay, that will allow you to use Python in the command line. So just check it and click on install now and follow through. It's saying here how you can check if Python has been installed. Just write python -- version and check if pip is also installed by pip -- version. Now it's saying to install PostgreSQL. Just follow this link and download the installer for PostgreSQL and just follow through the default installation. There will be no need to change anything. This installer will include PostgreSQL and will include admin pg4, which we will be using later. So it's saying by default there will be one user only, which is Postgres, and Odoo forbids connecting as Postgres. So we will need to create a new user on PostgreSQL that Odoo would use. But before that, it's saying that PostgreSQL bin directory, which is located here, must be added to the path. So how do we do that? To do that, I'm gonna click the Windows icon and I'm gonna write environment. Here is a link to edit system environment variables. I'm gonna go there. Here there is environment variables. Let's click on it, and we have the path variable where we need to add the PostgreSQL path. So let's click on edit, and there is already different paths located over here. Let's add the PostgreSQL path to it. First, let's confirm the location of PostgreSQL. It's saying it's located in C, program files, PostgreSQL version 16 bin. So let's copy the path by clicking here, go to the system environments and add a new one, and I'm gonna paste the path here and click OK. In part 2, it's saying that we need to create a user. When we downloaded PostgreSQL, it downloaded also the admin GUI, which is called pgadmin. I'm gonna click the Windows button and I'm gonna write pgadmin, which provides me with the app. Once it's opened, click on the servers, which will connect you to the PostgreSQL server. Now click on object, create, and login group role. Here we need to enter the name of our user. Let's do the simplest thing and just call it Odoo. In the definition tab, we need to enter the password. Let's also put it as Odoo. Then go to the privilege tab and click on can login and can create databases and save. Once you have created the user, we can close this. We've finished step 1 and 2. We've added PostgreSQL to the path and we've created a PostgreSQL user called Odoo with a password as Odoo and has privilege to log in and create databases. Let's go to the dependencies part. So it's saying here that Odoo will require some dependencies that we will need to install, which are C++ build tools, and saying that we could download these tools through Visual Studio. Let's download Visual Studio, download the community version, open the executable file. So I have already installed Visual Studio, but in your case you're gonna have a screen similar to this, and in the guide it's telling you to install C++ build tools. Before proceeding with your installation, make sure you click on desktop development with C++ and then continue with your installation. That will download the C++ tools. So the git clone finished downloading the community version. We can see the Odoo directory. Let's enter it, let's list the contents, and here are the Odoo contents. Now before proceeding with the next step, since we are probably going to be developing new modules on Odoo, let's download an IDE, and I personally use Visual Studio Code. So just write Vscode, download, and just download it for Windows. After you download the Vscode, open Vscode and go to File, Open Folder, and open the folder. So we can continue with the next steps through the IDE, as inside the IDE we have the terminal also. So let's click on terminal, new terminal, and we have the CMD in here. Now we need to download some Python packages, and we will be using pip to download those packages. Now it's giving us a tip over here to use a virtual environment. This shouldn't be a tip, this should be part of your workflow. Why? Let's say on this machine you have different Python projects. Let's say you have another project using Django, and Django has its own dependencies that you need to install. Now we don't want the dependencies to conflict between different projects. Let's say the Django project also uses some package that the Odoo project uses, but it has a different version, so it's better not to install packages system-wide, but install them to their specific project, and we can do that using the virtual environment. Since we downloaded Python, it already includes a virtual environment called Venv. So let's do that and create virtual environment before downloading the Python packages. To do that, it is as simple as Python mflag venv and then the name of the directory where it's gonna have the virtual environment. I'm gonna call it virtual and click enter. As you can see, it created a new folder here called virtual, which has scripts, which has its own Python executable and package installer. Now in the lib folder you will have all your packages specific to this project. Now to activate the virtual environment in CMD, this is what you will need to do. Write virtual, which is the name of the directory, go inside it into scripts and then activate. I'm gonna write activate and I'm gonna click enter. Now you'll know the virtual environment is activated by the virtual text before the path. Also in CMD I'm using this dash. Make sure you're using the same dash. It's not the one next to the shift, it's the one that probably comes above the enter, at least in my case. Now you might face an issue where you will not be able to activate the virtual environment. If you go to Venv documentation, you will have a note here. It's saying on Microsoft Windows it might be required to enable the activate.psi script by setting the execution policy for the user. You can do this by issuing the following command in the PowerShell. If you did encounter an error when you were trying to activate the virtual environment, most probably the issue is due to execution policy. Copy this command, open PowerShell, right click to paste, click enter and click yes, exit, go back to your project, close the terminal, reopen the terminal and try now to activate the virtual environment by doing virtual dash scripts dash activate and click on enter and it should work. So with the virtual environment activated, we can start downloading the Python packages. Let's start with the first one. Pip install setup tools and wheel. I'm gonna paste it, click enter and it has downloaded the packages. If you go to the virtual lib section, you will find the packages here installed. Here is the wheel and setup tools. Let's continue in the installation. Now it's telling us to install the packages in the requirements.txt file. So if we open the requirement.txt file, it has here all kind of dependencies that Odoo requires to be installed, and it's checking your Python version to install the right packages. Paste it, pip install are probably for recursive, all the packages inside requirements.txt. Let's click enter. and we have downloaded all the packages inside requirements.txt. Let's check the next steps. It's giving us a note here that if you're using right to left languages, you'll need to download Node.js and use npm to install this package rtlcss. We're not going to be using RTL languages, so I'm going to skip this part. Here it's saying a warning that wkhtmltopdf is not installed through pip and must be manually installed. We'll get back to this step later after we have set up Odoo. This package is needed if you want to use PDFs, and there is lots of places in Odoo where PDFs are being used. For example, the invoices, you can download them as PDFs or send them as PDF files. So let me get back to this. Now actually we could start running Odoo. To run Odoo, it's saying that you need to use this command. We're going to be using Python. Remember, this is the Python in the virtual environment, so make sure the virtual environment is activated as it holds all the packages that we have installed. Python Odoo bin to start Odoo. Then we have these flags. This is for the DB user, which we called Odoo. W is for the DB password, which we also put as Odoo. Add-ons path is the add-ons path location, which is add-ons, and D for the database. We did not create the database, but we have set privilege for this user to create the database. We're gonna be adding an additional flag here also to initialize that database. So let's do that. I'm gonna copy this, I'm gonna paste it here, and I'm gonna put our content. Our user is Odoo, our password is Odoo, also in Postgres. Add-ons path is correct. The database, I'm gonna call it Odoo underscore tutorial underscore db, and I'm gonna add an additional flag ibase, which will initialize this database, and I'm gonna click on enter. So we can see here that it initialized the database. We can see here that it is working with the modules, and it's saying that modules were loaded. Now to access the website, you will use the localhost. So go to your browser, write localhost :80 and our favorite number 69. Click on enter, and it gives us the login page. Now if you were wondering what is the email and password, let's go back to the tutorial, and it's saying here that the administrator account is admin as the email and admin as the password. So write admin here, and login. And with that we have logged in our Odoo development environment. Let's check that everything is working by downloading one of the modules. Let me download the sales module. While it's downloading, we could also check the command line interface, which is giving us more details on what's going on in the backend. And if you receive any errors in the front end, this is where you could also check what's going on and start debugging. Lots of modules depend on other modules, so when you're downloading sales, for example, it's not only downloading sales, it's also downloading invoices and a few other modules. Okay, so it completed installing the sales module. Let's try to access it. I'm gonna go to sales, and here is our sales module, and it contains some dummy data. That's great, as we can test if we are able to create PDF files in Odoo. Let me click on one of the invoices, and I'm gonna click on send and print, and I'm gonna click on download PDF preview, and here we encounter our first error: unable to find wkhtml2pdf on this system. Let's Google wkhtml2pdf. Let's open the site. Let's go to the download section. We have here the Windows version, installer, Vista or later, 64-bit. Let's download that. I agree. Before I install, I'm gonna actually copy this path where it's installing to. We need to add the bin path. Same thing we did with PostgreSQL. I'm gonna edit the environment variables. We're gonna go to environment variables, click on the path part, click edit, and here we need to add the wkhtml2pdf path. Click on new, paste it. Okay, the system environment just needs a restart to be activated, so I have restarted my PC. Let's see if it's working now. I'm gonna go to invoicing, click on an invoice, send and print, select just download, send and print. It's saying here that the pop-up window has been blocked. Let's see here the settings, site settings, pop-ups and redirects. I'm gonna allow them on the site. Let's try again. So now you are able to download PDF files. The block here was probably because the connection is over HTTP and not HTTPS, not a secure one. This tutorial is complete. Thank you for watching.